Hey guys, this is Dr. Shannon Crawford, and I am so excited for our 7MCulture to be here with my dear friend, Christina Mitchella. She is a fine artisan. She uses oil paint, but also charcoal in various mediums, but she is a phenomenal fine detail artist. She's an incredible woman of faith and character, and she does a lot of abstracts. And so when I was praying about and thinking about who to invite for the mountain of celebration, which under that mountain is the arts and entertainment. So that's anybody who is climbing the mountain of being a professional dancer or a theatrical person or a artist in the music form or in the fine art detail form. She came to mind. I actually knew of her before I met her because I've received gifts with her art on it, and they spoke to me and they ministered to me, and I just love them. And they're abstract, so they're not necessarily like cheesy, like kind of old school 1980s Christian art, but like beautiful actual art pieces. And then I got to meet her in person, and I just claimed her as my friend, and she didn't really have a choice. And so I am super excited for every artist out there to hear her story and some of the ways that art has been used to get to a level in people who otherwise words itself could not tap into that place. And we were just visiting before the video started to just kind of start cultivating some of those stories that we can take for granted. And I'm sure several of you have those out there as well. And we would love for you to post stories and things that you've done or experiences of how your art may have touched people in your journey. And so she's going to share, Christina Mitchella, and we will put a link to her website with all of her art. It is incredible. And she also does commissionings, which is really neat. So if you have a specific need, she can do that for you. So Christina, what has it been like for you to step out in the art world and really live that life of passion that you're made to do?
Absolutely. Well, it has been a journey, to say the least, as is everybody's, journey. We all have a story. We all have a journey. Mm-hmm. And God has really led me in this direction when I didn't even know that it was going to go in that direction. And even though from a young age, I really enjoyed the arts and anything creative and just cultivating creativity wherever I could, it was just amazing to be able to make that my life choice, my journey. And so after doing that, I really started to pursue just the arts and in every different area. So painting and drawing, mainly in oil painting, but like you mentioned, Shannon, you mentioned abstracts, and I do abstracts, but I was trained in more the classical realism type. So I can do, your mother's pot of flowers on the table and little cows in the pasture and all the little things that are different, even landscapes. And that led me to meet a wonderful mentor of mine. Her name is Fran DiGiacomo, also a fellow Italian. And what can I say? So she has been very instrumental in my life. She's done just the most amazing portraiture and landscape, still life, Southwestern type art, you name it. She's done it. She's been definitely a rock in my life.
Awesome. So why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? More than anything, it's to actually touch people. And even though they may think they're getting a commission at their request, it is so much more than that. It's being able to speak into their lives things that they otherwise where words maybe can't speak, that a visual aid can actually speak into their life. And so, for instance, doing an abstract work for a client, I was so excited to be able to do this work of art. And one thing that I haven't told you yet is that I did this work in its entirety. And then towards the end, I couldn't do it. And I thought, there's no way I can finish this painting. It was the last 10 minutes that I needed to finish this painting, and I couldn't accomplish it. There was something holding me back. And, being in art and being in business, sometimes you just need to get it done because there's a deadline and a client expects it. But it was the focal point, and it was the most important part of the piece. And so that's where I decided, I really need to lean into God, and I really need to ask him, because I realized in hindsight, I was thinking on my own. I was thinking and relying on all of my education and all of my background, when I should have been praying the whole time, God, help me with this artwork. Help me, walk me through this. Take my hand literally and put it on the canvas,
That's good.
And I realized that as soon as I started to pray, I had a breakthrough, and it came together in literally 10 minutes. The whole thing, it was a 6-foot painting, and it was completely done, and it came out like that. And it looked nothing like I had intended, but God knew what it was supposed to look like, because that client who received that painting said it was the most beautiful artwork they had ever seen. I've never seen this person speechless, but they were absolutely speechless. And it was because not just them that they were touched, but it was their spirit that was touched.
Yeah.
It was God that wanted to touch them through this artwork and speak and heal them in a way that words couldn't.
Yeah. And I think even in psychology, we're learning how important it is to move beyond just talking, and talking is valuable, but how a lot of times true transformation really takes place at that unconscious level, where you're tapping into emotion, whether it's being able to help unlock grief through an image, helping them process emotion, and also unlocking parts of self and these beautiful, vibrant, colorful parts of themselves. And as a therapist, it's been really fun to see people start to engage through using art therapy, music therapy, drama therapy, lots of different alternative types that are not just linear, logical, language based, which just kind of taps into small regions of the brain, but really capturing that deeper part of who they are. So what would you say in your experience that you've been able to see people tap into something deeper through seeing your art or someone else's art, and what that's like?
Right. So I had a girl who was at a silent auction, and it was just such a wonderful story, and a wonderful person. I just meet the most amazing people on this art journey. And she came to this auction that she'd never been to before. And so she shows up and sees my painting. Come to find out, she had been wanting a painting for her room for quite some time, and I had painted an original of a painting for a client. This was a print of the original, so it wasn't even intended necessarily for her. I originally intended it for the client who bought it, but I made a print for this auction. I had been praying for the person who was supposed to receive this print. In the meantime, she shows up and is standing there and says, "Is this your artwork?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "I'm getting this artwork because it reminds me of my mom." And we had this special bond that had to do with doves. And doves is what she saw in an abstract painting, which wasn't intentional, but that's what she saw, because that's what God wanted her to see,
Awesome. Yeah.
And so she bought this painting in memory of her mom, and come to find out further that she whispers in my ear and says, "I prayed for this painting. I've been praying for this painting." What was so interesting, Shannon, was I had been praying for her for 3 days prior, and I never pray for the person. I always pray for the painting. But I was praying for her. Meanwhile, she was praying for the painting.
So and you didn't know who her was.
I didn't know who she was.
But there was this sense of praying for whoever was going to receive that piece.
Person was. Wow. Whoever was supposed to receive it. She had the painting covered in prayer. I needed to pray for the person. That's amazing. She received it, and then deeper into it, she messages me and tells me, after she hangs it over her bed and changes her entire bedroom suite to match the painting. That's commitment right there.
Yes.
Like change your whole outfit to match your shoes kind of thing. So that's what this was. And she said to me, "I have never had more peace I have never had more peaceful sleep in my since my mom died. And I said, that's just so amazing. And that at the end of the day, those stories are why I do what I do. It is an absolute inspiration to find out that the original painting, who was meant for somebody else, and then a print who was ultimately meant for this girl, the layers and layers go deep. And I had no idea.
Yeah.
And God started to reveal himself even to me in that way. Like, just because it's for one person doesn't mean it can't be for many.
Yeah.
Like the gift of prophecy.
Yeah.
For many. Right?
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. So I have goosebumps because I think that there's ways that our mind is so finite and so limited, and we can put things in boxes, but then to know that through your abstract art or through your artistry as a singer, a potter person, I don't know the terms, but you have so many different ways of expressing yourself. And so we want this to be encouraging to you and for you to also reflect on the ways that your art has ministered either to yourself in your own healing journey, or unlocked things in yourself and as well as in others. So can you give us some examples how your own story of how you've come to this place? I love the soccer analogy you gave, we talked about earlier, or how in business, how that felt like maybe it was derailing you, but actually may have been a part of all of this.
Absolutely.
Tell us some of your backstory of what led up to this moment in your life.
So one thing I find interesting is being in insurance for several years and then in banking, it is completely opposite of what I do now.
Yeah.
And it was actually my intent to be an insurance agent down the road, but God had other plans for me. And so I realized that these things were just stepping stones of wisdom that I gained along the way to help open up art in business and in art. I'm able to be able to be that multifaceted and not just art because of the business background. It's kind of given me a full round perspective. Like a sculpture is a full round sculpture. You can see all different perspectives.
Yeah.
So being able to see from a business side and the art side with my degree, it has really merged into being the business of art.
Yeah. And can you speak from that? Because I think some people lean toward the business side or they lean toward the creative side,
Right.
and how powerful it is if we are more well-rounded. And for anyone who's been out there and feels like, man, I have a creative gift, I haven't known how to cultivate it, or it feels like I'm in this kind of mundane job and it feels like a waste of time and it feels like you're just kind of in quicksand and you can't gain momentum. What would you say you might have been learning in that season of just kind of being faithful where God had you before you launched into this season? What were the things you might have been gaining during that time where it felt like it was wasted?
Where it felt like it was wasted. I don't think God wastes anything, but maybe it does feel like
in
that
that moment.
us. It might feel like that. Yeah, absolutely. I think that God, he works in ways that we don't even know, and it's to our advantage. And along the way, we gain insight, and we don't even know that we're going to use that for the future. And so being able to, I just think it's fascinating to find.
That's okay.